Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's Tuesday, September 15th, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gyun. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reports 106 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday, signaling a continuous decrease in daily figures. But authorities remain on high alert following the easing of social distancing measures as infections among the elderly and untrackable have been rising. U.S. sanctions against China's Huawei officially take effect Tuesday local time. Chinese tech giant Huawei will no longer be able to buy semiconductor parts from major global tech firms that use American technology without Washington's approval. And Japan's former Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga was elected as the new leader of the Liberal Democratic Party. He's set to take over the country's longest-serving Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Wednesday. Now we start with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 106 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday, staying in the low 100s for the third straight day. Of them, 91 were locally transmitted and 15 were from overseas, bringing the total number of cases to over 22,000. Despite the downward trend, authorities are still on high alert as the weekly death toll doubled compared to the previous week. Most of those in critical condition are aged 60 and above. 1 in 1,440. That's how many South Koreans have antibodies against COVID-19. The results of tests conducted over the summer show that a far smaller proportion than most other countries. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the details.
In South Korea, 0.07% of people have antibodies against COVID-19.
The government tested 1,440 people for antibodies between June 10th and August 13th, and one person was confirmed positive.
It's much lower than, for example, New York City at 25%, London at 17%, and Spain at 6%. Antibodies are what give you immunity to a disease once you've already been infected, so the data suggests South Korea has relatively few people who've caught the disease and just not had symptoms. This is largely thanks to its aggressive testing. But there's a twist. The antibody rate went up slightly from the previous study conducted from April to June when it was 0.03%. That could make a big difference when factoring in the country's population of more than 50 million. Theoretically, the more recent study would mean around 35,000 cases. But in fact, the country has only confirmed around 22,000, which could mean some 13,000 have gone undetected. There's a notable gap compared to the first test, when estimated and actual cases almost matched. This gap, however, isn't necessarily accurate.
Given the scale of the outbreak, 1,500 people isn't a big enough sample to accurately determine the percentage of asymptomatic cases, so we can't generalize.
Experts also say more testing is needed.
The second wave began around mid-August, so we should look at samples taken after that period. It's not going to end with 1 or 2 rounds of research. Tracking should be done in a continuous manner.
The government is in the process of doing so, this time with bigger and more diverse samples. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
Concerns are rising across the globe over the COVID-19 outbreak spreading in a classroom. France has seen a number of cluster infections pop up in schools just days into the new semester. And many schools in Spain have already switched back to online classes. Our Kim Jae-hee has the full story.
Some universities in France are being forced to go back to remote classes as the virus is flaring again at the start of the new semester in September. Dozens of students from one university tested positive for COVID-19 after a party, forcing some classes to go online. Worries grow in France as cases there are on the rise.
Because these days the figures are skyrocketing. This morning we were really surprised by the number of new cases.
Schools in Italy resumed face-to-face lessons on Monday for the first time in 6 months. But there are concerns as teachers in Italy may be more vulnerable to the virus. OECD data shows 59% of all Italy's primary and secondary school teachers are aged over 50, the highest percentage in the OECD.
Our greatest fear, in addition to the fact that cases of COVID-19 may show up, is the difficulty of working in these conditions.
8 million Spanish children also returned to school last week, but some schools have already gone virtual. One primary school was shut down after several teachers tested positive for COVID-19. Across the Atlantic, the U.S. has also seen infections pop up in the classroom. A Central Florida high school is shutting its doors for 2 weeks after it had confirmed 6 cases. A switch to remote-only learning is a precaution after dozens of students held a party on Friday. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
Chinese tech giant Huawei will no longer be able to buy semiconductor parts from major global tech firms beginning Tuesday, local time. This comes as Tuesday marks the date set by the U.S. Commerce Department last month when it announced a practical ban on non-American companies from selling components developed with American technologies. Transactions will only be allowed if the companies have special approval from the U.S. But with Washington heightening its level of sanctions against Beijing, the possibility of such approval seems to be low. The latest measure is expected to deal a big blow to the Chinese firm, as semiconductor parts such as DRAM and NAND memory are crucial for the development of smartphones. Japan's current chief cabinet secretary has been elected as the new leader of the Liberal Democratic Party to succeed outgoing Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Yoshihide Suga is also expected to take office as Prime Minister on Wednesday. Our Yoon Jung-min has more.
Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga was elected Monday by party lawmakers and officials as the new leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, taking over from the country's longest-serving Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. There will be another vote on Wednesday in Parliament when the LDP's majority will almost certainly make him Prime Minister. He is expected to finish the rest of Abe's term, which is until September next year.
I received quite a large number of votes, so I believe this is an environment in which I can lead our politics stably and in my own way.
Suga was first elected to the House of Representatives in 1996, and his political career since has been closely tied to Abe's. Suga served as Chief Cabinet Secretary under Abe for almost 8 years. He's likely to carry on with the policies of his predecessor, including the foreign policy and historical views that have caused friction with Japan's neighbors. Ties with South Korea have soured over the issues of wartime sex slavery and forced labor, as well as Japan's retaliatory export curbs on South Korea.
Abe showed his right-wing colors from the start. Suga is more aware of the importance of dialogue. Suga's views on history won't be much different, but there could be a little more room for talks when it comes to foreign policy.
As for Abe's unfinished ambition to change Japan's post-war pacifist constitution, experts say it's unlikely to happen soon, considering various factors, including Japan's COVID-19 situation.
To revise the constitution, they need consent from the public and more than 2/3 approval in parliament. But some even doubt whether the LDP can secure the majority in the next election. They'll bring up the revision issue for this purpose, but it seems unlikely to happen in the next few years.
The expert added that Suga might dissolve parliament and call a snap election as soon as next month to solidify his position. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Weeks after Germany confirmed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was poisoned with a powerful nerve agent, France and Sweden have also confirmed the substance was used. French President Emmanuel Macron held phone calls with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday, calling on him to shed light on what he called the attempted murder. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
According to the German government on Monday, laboratories in France and Sweden have also confirmed that the powerful nerve agent Novichok was used to poison Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, adding further weight to speculation the Russian state may have been involved. A German government spokesman revealed that 3 labs independently provided evidence of a substance from the Novichok group was the cause of Navalny's poisoning. While Russian officials did not immediately respond to the results of the French and Swedish tests, they insisted there's no proof Navalny was poisoned. Instead, they've previously suggested other reasons, including a drug overdose or low blood sugar. Navalny, who was in a medically induced coma last month at a hospital in Berlin, seems to be improving as he's breathing by himself again and is now able to walk. French President Emmanuel Macron held phone talks with his Russian counterpart on Monday, saying it's imperative that all light be shed without delay on the circumstances of what Macron called an attempted murder and find out who's responsible. Putin said it was inappropriate to make groundless accusations against Russia. According to the Kremlin, Putin also called on Germany to hand over its test results. 이승재, Arirang News.
The detection of a specific type of gas in the clouds of Venus has surprised scientists. It has left them wrestling with a big question. Could it be a sign of alien life in the inhospitable planet? Our Kim Hyo-sun has this report.
New research published in the journal Nature Astronomy on Monday described in detail the latest discovery of phosphine gas in the clouds of Venus that is produced by microbes. Researchers have looked into why such toxic gas is forming in the atmosphere, but they've found nothing so far to explain it. The mystery raises the possibility that Venus might be home to a form of life flourishing in its clouds, which contain no water. While the researchers did not discover actual life forms, they noted that on Earth, bacteria thriving in oxygen-starved environments have been detected.
So we think something is a process that's making it, and one of the possibilities is it's small floating organisms. And the reason we think that is because there are small bacteria on Earth that do actually make phosphine.
They explained that on Earth, phosphine comes from microorganisms breaking down decaying plants and animals without oxygen, adding it also arises non-biologically in certain industrial settings. Venus, our closest planetary neighbor, is similar in structure but slightly smaller than Earth. It's widely known to be inhabitable with surface temperatures reaching a scorching 470 degrees Celsius. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The new hit song by BTS, Dynamite, has landed in second place on the newly launched Billboard charts that rank the most popular tracks globally, the Billboard Global 200 and the Billboard Global excluding US. Billboard said on Monday that the two charts are based on sales and streaming data from more than 200 countries. They track the week of September 4th to the 10th. WAP by Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion took #1 on the first ever Global 200 chart. As for the Hot 100 chart, Dynamite continued its success, sitting in the #2 spot 3 weeks after its release.
Good morning. South Korea is enjoying one of the most pleasant times of the year. Well, there are still big temperatures gapped between lows and highs, but the humidity isn't too bad under clear autumn skies. But due to atmospheric instability, eastern parts of Gangwon-do and parts of Jeollanam-do province will see sporadic rain in the afternoon, so have an umbrella handy. Compared to yesterday, we'll see more clouds, and most major cities on the map will get up to 27 and 28 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Then we have rain in the forecast across the country tomorrow, which could linger into Thursday. Jeju will see heavier showers, while the central and south coast regions will see 5 to 40 millimeters of rainfall. The capital will have wet weather all day tomorrow, but we can look forward to a brighter weekend with chillier morning temperatures. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.